Hello, 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 hello. I'm making a video. Paul is taking the baby dog for a walk, and the sun is about to go down, and we are making a video, the aliens and I, and I have a quote by Friedrich Nietzsche today. And I put it there in between these glass doors, and I'm gonna read it because it's cool. I have a bunch of scrap paper up there in the shelf, and on the back of the scrap paper are printouts from articles and blogs that I have and posts and different things that I have created in the past. So I'm not using my printer anymore. I just do everything on the internet. But I'm glad I still have all of these printed out manuscripts there in scrap paper form. I use that because I don't want to waste resources, so I reuse everything. And I have them piled up there on the shelf, and every time I need to do something with it, write a list, shopping list, I will use one of those. Or if I make a sign for a bar stool that says free stuff, and we pin that on the bar stool, then people will take that in minutes. They took the bar stool, they took the free stuff sign, and once they get to their destination with the bar stool, they will check out of curiosity. They will check out the back of that paper, and there is a big old rant on environmentalism, on not to use polluting toxins, like not to use pesticides. So I would love to see the facial expression of that person. But anyway, I want to read this here because as I was pulling out these notes, these printouts, these old sheets that I had printed out 10 years ago or 8 years ago, I see that because I have wanted to make a movie, like a 3-hour or 4-hour epic movie, but I don't have what it takes. I'm not a very good cameraman, obviously. So I made a cameraman that's a sculpture at the other house. So obviously, I'm not a cameraman, but I am pretty much just a lay person, a lay lady that doesn't get laid. That's what I am. So I feel very giddy today. And so when I'm giddy, my brain does these word loops. But I came across this passage here on one of those printouts from Friedrich Nietzsche because I was in the process of translating Thus Spoke Zarathustra into English. And some of these quotes from Friedrich Nietzsche, particularly in the way I translated them, because I'm from Germany and Friedrich Nietzsche is from Germany, and I know how to translate those books better than the people who have already translated them. And that's why I wanted to translate the book, but then as I was like a third in, the same was the Betty book from Anneliese, I dropped out. I quit, but so far those two attempts of translations was the Betty book and the Zarathustra book, or I put that on Blogger. So, but I saved some of these quotes here for this movie that I wanted to make, and I'm gonna start with this here. It's only part of the first one is only part because I don't know what, I forgot now the exact wording, because the exact wording are on another page that preceded this one here. But he said something like, something in the matter of, don't come to me with your whatever, with your religions and stuff like this. And those people that constantly talk about it. He said, those who talk to you about supernatural hopes, poison mixers are those, whether they know it or not. Contemptors of life are those, dying and themselves poisoned, who are tired of the earth, so may they pass away. Those are the words of Friedrich Nietzsche. I wonder why he was hated. Okay. So, and then I took a note here and I wrote, who is the superhuman? Does he exist? Who would Friedrich Nietzsche call the superhuman? I believe that it would be Paul Watson. Yeah, and I add Elon Musk to that list, of course. And so, and I have another paragraph from Friedrich Nietzsche himself. Quote, the human is a rope knitted between animal and superhuman. A rope over an abyss. Okay. A dangerous transgression. A dangerous on the road. A dangerous retrospection. A dangerous shuddering and standing still. What is great about the human is that he is a bridge and not a means. What can be loved about the human is that he is a transition and a demise. End quote. By Friedrich Nietzsche. I had to mention this because I think it is epic and it is awesome. Friedrich Nietzsche is epic and awesome and funny and amazing, and that's why he needs to be quoted. Okay, so very important. So I'm making 2 art pieces here right now. I don't know if this shows. This one here is called The Compassionate Carob Factory. Carob Candy. The Compassionate Carob Candy Factory is this one here. And this one, the other one, is called The Marshmallow Candy Factory. So I will show them more in detail once they're completely finished. So obviously I'm still working on it. And I am meticulous with those things. You would think, oh, it's just a cardboard box taped up with masking tape or duct tape, and it has grooves in it and stuff like that. On the back is our address. I don't know, maybe it's good to have that on there for future references of people who think this may be an imposter artwork or something. They can prove this is actually coming from us. So I want all of this, I'm being giddy today. I want all of this to end up at Christie's in New York. Okay, I want each one to sell for $1 million. Each one of the alien spaceships. That's my dream, one can dream, It's not illegal to dream and to come up with some outlandish ideas. So I really love my artwork. When I work on my artwork, I work on each piece for at least several weeks, if not months. And the large pieces, I work on those for like 6 months or even more. And there is alien eggs there. The alien eggs egg one I worked on for several months also, and even the smaller ones I worked on them for, I don't know, maybe 2 months or something. So when I work on those, Paul is always saying, he's always accusing me of being too impatient and of not being very meticulous with some things, but he had to correct himself. He said, well, except for when you make your artworks, then you have endless patience. And that's the truth. And I'm glad that he recognizes that. I'm glad he sees that. Yeah, because I have unlimited love and patience during my art making processes. So once I'm in what I call the nitpicking process, so I start out with a rough sketch. I don't use any other things. I don't use markers or anything or pencils. I just go for it right away with the acrylic paint. And then I just put a rough draft on it, and then that's the first phase. And the next phase is the rough, like, color composition process, where I put all of this together, where I just fill in the rough draft with the color. And then the third phase is when it becomes really, really formed and shaped. And the fourth phase is the nitpicking phase, where I am really, really, with endless patience and unconditional patience and love, blue God love. I just, and that would never end until I finally say, so, no, I have to stop it now, or it will go on forever. Because I can look at my old paintings and say, oh, there is something that I need to correct, but then I kind of catch myself and say, no, this is a completed work, I'm not going to do any more on it. So, but yeah, during the nitpicking phase, that's really that's the main crafts phase, where I put so much into it, like layers and layers of paint. And it's not just one layer, you blot that on and then you see the completed work. No, that would never work. That would never look clean. You can ask the great painters of today, Takashi, for example. So they use many layers of paint on it for their artworks, particularly those paintings that are, some of them are actually quite similar to mine, and I didn't know, I didn't copy him, because Takashi Murakami, yes, Takashi Murakami. So that is the Japanese artist. That is one of my absolute favorite. I would probably say my absolute favorite one. So out there from all the other artists that are out there, and because when I saw his work, I was shocked. I first found Mike Fields' work, and Mike Fields, I was amazed at Mike Fields, because I asked Mike Fields on YouTube, who is that painter that made this humongous wall-size painting up that is standing behind your sculpture? Mike Fields makes these kinetic sculptures. One of them is in the building, the one in Bel Air. There is a large mountain, and Niall Nyami bought that property and had Paul McLean, my favorite architect, create the one property, the one buildings, and the number one. So the biggest among the absolute biggest homes in the whole world, and super modern and amazing. And he bought a Mike Fields kinetic sculpture to put in one of the foyers. And so that's how I found Mike Fields. And then when I found Mike Fields on YouTube, he talked to me a few times, and I asked him, who is that painting? Who made that painting behind a sculpture that in the art exhibit in one of the museums? And he said, yeah, that's the work of Japanese artist Takashi Murakami. And I thought, wow, that guy, he paints almost like I do. And I did not know about him. I had never seen his artwork before until that day. So then I researched all of his works and Mike Fields' works, and so I felt this, although he would probably never meet me, I felt this kinship. There is like artist kinship happening. I am totally unknown and probably will for the rest of my life, and I have to be okay with this. This is part of my journey. I think my artwork is really, really amazing. I put my artwork among the top 100 lists. You can probably think, oh, that's self-obsessed, Nicola. Oh, yes. I don't care what the haters think. My artwork is up there with the big ones, and maybe with the top 10. So, but that's just my personal view. Other people may not think that about this, but this is how I view it. I honestly view it this way. So my artwork is amazing. I love my artwork, and I love my artwork the best of all, of course, because it's my artwork. Takashi's work is amazing, but my artwork is my artwork, and I put aliens into it, and so yeah, absolutely love my artwork and candy and everything that I like. So, and that's what everyone should be doing, instead of saying, oh, how can I match up to this? You don't have to match up to an artist that's out there already and famous and all of this. You don't have to. You don't have to compare yourself, If you paint like this and you haven't known, well, then you experience a kinship there, okay? I experienced a kinship to the French artist Niki de Sarfal when I was 6 years old. So that's when I think I was 9. I was 9 years old. They brought 3 of her nanas, those are like truck-sized sculptures, to my hometown. They put them in a group next to a river, and half of the community complained about them. Those are the naysayers, and the other half were all excited and happy about them, because the nanas are beautiful hippie culture art, amazing, abstract, big, plump women shapes, that totally are on my page. Even when I was 9 years old, I saw that, I had already been painting like this, and so when I saw the nanas, I immediately painted them. I made sculptures of them, and under one of the paintings of her nanas, I wrote "friend," because I felt a kinship, I felt a friendship to this woman who doesn't even know me, okay? We wanted to visit her much later on. I wanted to visit her after my suicide attempt, and we did not. We weren't quick enough, because she was very, very sick at that time from the spray paint she was using for all of her life on her big sculptures, and it caused her the C word in the lungs, and it's horrible, and she died from that. And then we never got to see her. My parents know her, so I could have had the chance to be introduced to her and be able to drive down there. We weren't that far from her. She was in San Diego. We were in LA, so we could have gone down there with our dogs, and she would have been excited to meet Ludwig and Samantha. And I would have given her a hug, and I would have told her how I got to meet her work, and how I was introduced to her work when the Nanas came to us, and that I've always wanted to meet her. So, and that my parents are big fans. They have one painting by Niki de Saint Phalle that it's a reprint, but a very elaborate reprint with her signature on it. That has now gone up way in price also. Any kind of, even a reprint with the artist's signature, the actual signature on it, that's worth, I don't know, that reprint's probably worth $100,000 by now. So that was a long time ago when my dad bought that painting, when it was much, much, much more reasonably priced. So at the beginning, that was quite at the beginning of her major career. So there are some artists that I grew up with that I didn't copy, that I felt a kinship with, and Arnold Leisler is one of them, and Horst Antes is one of them, Niki de Saint Phalle, of course. My parents have works from all of them, so that's how I grew up. I was surrounded by modern art. My dad is a modern art collector. His whole house and every room full of modern art. And for me, that was wonderful to grow up with the works of other artists. So it felt like, oh, they are my friends, they are surrounding me, they're helping me energetically, whether they know it or not. They're helping me grow up and probably save me from some catastrophic depression or loneliness. So modern art does that. Modern art has a healing effect, when the art is an expression of people's emotions and not an expression of the ego, and not a depiction of violence. If someone paints just a depiction of violence, or a photographer takes a photo of just violence by itself, then it could not be really the expression of the inner child. It could be the expression of the ego, which wants attention and so on, like a temper tantrum. So obviously that's not that easy to detect, at which point something is more in the direction of ego than the inner child, than the real artist that is actually in every single person. But most people have banned their inner child, their inner clown, their inner artist into the catacombs with an iron door that they locked, that says entry strictly forbidden. Okay, so religion does that for you, for sure. Religion shackles and bans your inner child into the catacombs. There's a beautiful fairy tale by Ottfried Preußler. It's a German writer, and we grew up with his fairy tales, and that's another beautiful mind that helped me make it through my very neurotic childhood with the very neurotic adults around me. So they were neurotic, but they were generally very well educated and well read, and they were open to art. So that's already light years better than someone who's neurotic and not educated and not well read and not open to art. So I feel for those people who didn't have that. I feel really sorry for people who didn't have modern art when they grew up and who didn't have classical music when they grew up. I feel terribly sorry for those people. Those people grew up in a prison environment, literally and metaphorically. And they were shackled. Their inner child was not allowed to express itself, okay, for boys or girls, okay, and that is the fact. Okay? And so my dad, he was always very, very supportive. And my dad wasn't sexist. He wasn't, like, at least not when I was a child. So my dad treated my brother and me equally. And so he didn't put the boy over the girl. He actually put the girl over the boy. He praised me a lot. He actually put the girl, my brain's always reversing things for some reason. He put the girl, he put the girl over the boy. So my brain is always reversing for some reason. It's very, very irritating. So it's like boy, girl, left, right, up, down. It's like, when I talk fast, it reverses itself. So, no, I was definitely my dad's artist and daddy's girl, and he definitely, I wouldn't say preferred me over my brother or favored me over my brother, but he pampered me a lot with compliments in regards to my artwork, and that was probably difficult for my brother to deal with. So for me it was encouraged and very encouraging. So my dad really encouraged me to express myself with my art. And I'm deeply grateful to him for that. I don't know how I would have grown up if I had grown up in a regimented, religious, bigoted type of family. I don't know. They probably would have drilled stuff into me like you have to help the mother in the kitchen, and you need to marry a rich man, and you need to shut up and never say anything and never express yourself, something like that. I don't know how that would have unraveled with my life. So I may have become extremely angry at some point and run off. So that could be because I have a Medusa in me genetically. So, could have. I had a big clash with my mother and my grandfather, so that didn't go very well because they suppressed their inner child. They tried to suppress my inner child. That does not go well with me, for sure. So, but my dad didn't suppress my inner child, and I'm grateful to him for this. So later on, when I was an adult, he expected me to be, just like my mother, cleaning up the table, helping in the kitchen, while my brother was allowed to stay on the table and talk to him and not do a thing. Okay, and I am a feminist. I did not accept that. I spoke up. I got mad. Okay, and then they just sat there not saying anything while I was getting mad. But I didn't want my mother to have to do all of it, so I had to help her. But the guys still didn't help, even though I got mad. And that really made me even more mad. But yeah, at some point I moved away, so it's too neurotic for me. I don't like to hang around with people that are neurotic and that are also very complacent and that allow a neurotic movement because they can get away with it with their laziness. So it's like some kind of social expectation that feeds men. No, it's not good at all. No way. I don't put up with that. So, but in regards to my artwork, he saw the Van Gogh in me, definitely. And he didn't make any gender differentiation in that way. So, and I'm grateful to him for that. So, I know, I see that most fathers, they start with that gender differentiation very early on and put the girl into the mother role, into the servant, so, and also in terms of profession choices. So, and the father will give the little girl already at age 2, you can become shit, diarrhea, or vomit. Which one do you choose? Like, those are all attributed to you as the role of the woman. Okay, so you can become whatever, a hairdresser, or you can become a stewardess, an airline assistant, or whatever. Or you can become whatever. You can become a nurse. Those are the women professions. So none of those appeal to me. So particularly not as a child. So as a child, I laid it out very, very clearly. So I said to my dad, I want to be an artist, so that I already was. I want to become a jeweler. I want to become a veterinarian. What else? I have to think about this now. I had like 10 different things that, I want to talk to aliens. I want to make dinosaurs. Many different things, the child has. Unlimited fantasies with that kind of stuff. And then looking back on it today, that was actually a very accurate list that I created there. And this is what I'm becoming. Okay, I think I said physician or doctor or something. So yeah, I'm a natural, holistic hobby doctor, a witch doctor. Okay, I'm the doctor for animals and humans. I don't make any differentiation. I don't have to call that any different word. I'm making dinosaurs, aliens, alien spaceships. I'm an artist. I'm making jewelry, better believe it. Okay, so I want to show that. I'll show that at the other house. I made a great jewelry piece here at this house that I have worn already. I don't know if I showed it. I don't think I've shown this yet. A little sculpture, okay, that I baked in the oven. A Sculpey sculpture. I painted it with alien green, has 2 eyes and a hole in it, and then it didn't work with that string. It was cutting into my neck, so I have to redo this with something fluffy like this, and then put the string around the fluffy thing and then hang that around my neck. So, but I've already made a bunch of those kind of jewelry pieces. So yeah, in that way I'm also a jeweler. So, and nature lover and hiker and all of these things. Dog lover, all of these things that I already knew I would become because it was already inside of me. So yeah, when I work on my artwork, I work on it with infinite patience, layers over layers over layers over layers, until it looks really saturated. Yeah, like the nail polish, several layers. I put like 5 layers on. So, and really saturated, beautiful, gorgeous, yummy colors, you know. I make artworks that look like you can eat them, and that's how I like it. So, the sun is going down. I am about to go now, but there was something else I wanted to say. Yes. I want to say I am sorry to those people that are spying day and night on my computer. I'm sorry that my Medusa is coming out once in a while. So it is what it is. You are on your own. It's your own responsibility if you spy on me. But I'm still want to say I'm sorry. You know, because obviously that's confusing to you and your inner child. You view me like a big mama, and like the mama you never had. You know, a mama that takes you into her life, a mama that says things that no one in your life has ever said, but that your inner child feels comfortable with. So this leaves me with a lot of responsibility psychologically, and with that responsibility that I have drawn onto me unknowingly, unwillingly, even without my consent. But, you know, it happens, you know, if a cat comes into your house and says, I want you to be my new parents, okay, then whether you want a cat or not, you have to take some responsibility for that cat. You know, you can bring the cat to the animal shelter if you cannot have a cat, or you can feed the cat and pet the cat when the cat comes around. This is what we have done, you know. And that's the same with the haters. They're like a cat. You know, they come to you because they are in need of someone who is gentle with them, who understands them. They're in need of that. They won't admit it to themselves, but they are. Okay. So when they come across that person, you know, a cat is very choosy who she goes into. And I thought the kitty that came to us was a girl, and then the neighbor told us that was a boy. You know, I couldn't. With cats, I really cannot tell. They have a small weenie. So, and I think he was even neutered. So, older cat. And the baby dog. The baby dog got him. Okay. It's very, 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 very infinitely sad. So, he came into the house before we got the baby dog, and I had OCD with that because he was also hanging out at other people's houses. And obviously cats don't like to be washed, and then you would have to keep him in the house. And we were traveling. It's hard to travel with a cat. You know, cats like to roam. So they're free spirits, but you know, when a cat chooses someone, he chose us and the next door neighbors. So that's a compliment to the next door neighbors and to us. So that makes me trust the next door neighbor more. Neighbors, two women, to mother and daughter. And they have a bunch of cats and dogs. So I think they're great animal lovers, and I'm glad that they live there, so I love them, send them love energy. But yeah, I love you, all of you beings, haters too, you know, I love you, believe it or not. From the sky perspective, you know, from the calm mind perspective, from the calm mind mental state. But I get mad sometimes, so don't blame me for that. You know, you've tortured me for over 10 years. So, but that's my Medusa, and that shows itself sometimes, so don't take it too personally, you know. So it's not against you as a person, certainly not against your appearance, okay? If you think that's against your appearance, that's your childhood trauma, okay? Sit with it, feel it, resolve it, cry it out. Okay, so take care. Peace and love for all of you.